I like seeing Joel. I think I'm just happy to see Joel. This is so cute. I love this. Okay, mixed feelings, but mostly good feelings here. So that moth looks a little phallic to me. This is more good than bad, with the exception of that one thing. Okay, well, the next bit's a bit abrupt. Oh, you little bitch. Okay, what the okay, Ellie is a sociopath. She deserves death. She deserves suffering, and she deserves death. What the hell is this? What the hell? What the hell? What was the point of that?
That was exhausting.
Hey, this is the Sword and the Pen Reflections. It is my casual alternative to that channel. We're going to be looking now at The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 6. Again, no initial thoughts since I haven't seen it yet. I just finished watching Episode 5. Well, actually, I just finished it like 3 hours ago. I really don't want to be here. I'm just really irritated. I have no desire to watch this show. It has become ridiculous. On its own, individual moments and ideas are working. Like, they're cool. I can see like, wow, that'd be awesome. Unfortunately, they're not serving the rest of the story. The things that are happening around these moments have all kinds of contradictions and weaknesses and things that just don't lead up to these moments or don't result from these moments and make sense. So it's really hard to praise this as good storytelling. I can say it's got great potential because it does, but it's just not working. Like right now, for instance, you've got Ellie, who is trapped inside of a hospital, literally being welded into the basement, and she's torturing some chick to get information from her about where is Abby. There's no way she's going to get out of there. If by some miracle they haven't welded her into that room, which is the orders that the WLFs were giving each other, maybe the WLFs have left now, which they should have done the moment that they found out there was literally an entire level of airborne in contagion. Like, don't stay in this hospital. Get the stuff you need and move it to another building. But they decided to stay. They should be clearing out of that building right now. That's the only way I could see her escaping the hospital, is that they have left, and so there's literally nothing to stop her from just waltzing right out. Because she certainly wouldn't be able to get out if they're all still on duty. And assuming that they are still on duty, they must be welding her in. There's no way for her out of this hospital. And then even if she did get out of the hospital, how's she going to make it back to the theater? I do not have any confidence in Ellie's ability to get back to the hospital. Like, there's no way. She can't navigate. Dina was the navigator. She probably doesn't even know which direction is northeast, south, or west, or how she would even determine which way is northeast, south, or west. Like, how would she know?
1 hour later.
I'm sure there's a logical explanation for all of this.
Sure there is.
Yes.
I'm just really irritated. So let's just get into this. Remember, you can listen to this at 1.5 to 2 times speed. It's a bit easier to listen to me at those rates. Also, please do consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. It's a free way for you to help me boost this video in the algorithm. Otherwise, if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon, Ko-fi, or hit the money heart thanks button down below. You can become a subscriber or leave me a one-time tip. Seriously, even $1 is very much appreciated. So that's it. Let's do this.
This story's set a long, long time ago in a place called the 80s.
It'll be fine.
He's gonna beat the shit out of me.
I said it'll be fine.
I'm gonna get the belt.
No, you're not. I will. Just go to your room. Stay there.
Dad gets home, we see he's a police officer, and he sits down with Joel because Tommy has scrammed. He's like, okay, tell me what happened, the dad is. And Joel says, well, you know, I was trying to buy some pot and the guy was trying to cheat me, so I beat him up. And Joel's dad's like, I know that's BS because I've talked to the other kid and I also talked to the police officers. Like, I already know what happened. He says that he thinks that Tommy was the one who was trying to buy the drugs and that Joel saw that there was something going down and got in a fight, whatever, doesn't matter. Joel says,
you're not gonna hurt him.
This was the 80s, man. It was a wild place.
Did I ever tell you about that time I stole a candy bar? I was 10. Grandpa found out, made me give it back, made me apologize to the cashier. And then we went home. Just before I got out of the car, man, it just broke my jaw. There was blood everywhere. Grandma thought I was dead. My mouth was wired shut for 2 months. Everybody knew why. It was humiliating.
If you know what it feels like, then why?
That's not why I'm telling you this. Okay, yeah, I've hit you. And I've hit Tommy. But never like that. Not even close. I mean, maybe I go too far. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm doing a little better than my father did. And you know, when it's your turn, I hope you do a little better than me.
It's the watch!
I do actually like this. I think that this would have been a great scene, first of all, to have had literally like way at the beginning of this season. This would have been much better than to put it right here. It does seem to be portraying getting belted as abuse. And I have a comment about this. So I'm Gen X, and it was a different time. I know today that corporal punishment for kids is really looked down on, but back in the 80s and 90s, most of us in America, I don't know elsewhere, most of us got spanked or belted, or worse, the wooden spoon. My mom used to threaten me with the wooden spoon with holes in it because there's less wind resistance so she can slap harder. In most cases, and all my friends got spankings and belted and stuff like that. Like, I've been belted by my parents before.
What? That's terrible.
I told you, the 80s was a wild place.
What I'm trying to explain is that this was a different time. The majority of Gen Xers got corporal punishment, and the majority of us who did were not abused. As a Gen Xer who benefited from non-abusive corporal punishment, I think I can recognize the conditions for non-abusive corporal punishment in the era of raising Generation X, so I just want to go over that really quick. Number 1, the punishment did not leave marks or pain that lasted longer than a day. It should really only be painful as you are getting whacked. Number 2, the punishment was proportional to the crime, and the child was aware that crossing certain lines would result in certain levels of punishment. For instance, talking back disrespectfully multiple times might get a single smack on the butt, whereas buying illegal drugs might get 5 belts across the bum and a whole summer of being grounded with extra chores and at least a year of you better be on your best behavior probation. And number 3, a parent never administered corporal punishment in a fit of anger. It was always controlled so they wouldn't do more than what was deserved. Again, I am not saying that people weren't abused, and I'm not even saying that I condone or condemn corporal punishment. I see the reasons to not use it, but I also think that many punishments we see as acceptable today, such as taking away a kid's phone or grounding them, might be seen as abusive someday. All of this is to drive home the point that getting belted does not equate to abuse. And the reason I bring that up is because if I was going to change one thing about this scene, this very nice scene, it would be the depiction of Joel's father. Tommy is shown to be terrified of getting belted, so much so that Joel offers to take the punishment for him. So when the dad walked in, I was expecting someone I could see being abusive, but I didn't. The dad came in cool and calm and reasonable enough to listen to his son's story and explain his efforts against perpetuating generational trauma. In storytelling, now again, this is not in reference to real life, but in storytelling, it's necessary in this situation to show behavior indicative of someone who sometimes maybe goes too far in order to justify the fear that Tommy has and Joel's fierce defensiveness. If this was my script, I would have improved the scene by having Joel's dad march into the house, his face red with anger, Joel jumping up to say he was the one who was buying the drugs, and the dad firing back that he knows this is a lie, but then Joel steps in between his dad and Tommy's room and says, "I'm not gonna let you hurt him." And then we see Joel's dad's demeanor change. He is brought out of his anger, and then the scene continues much as it does in the show. I think this would have been a better illustration of the in-between phase, something not as bad as Joel's grandpa, but slightly worse than what we see in Joel. Because I like this scene, and I like the themes here. I like that the idea is that each generation is going to try to do better than the previous, and it's being introduced here where we have Joel wanting to do better than his own dad, and his dad was just doing his best to be better than his. It's great, it's a good theme. So just to reiterate, I liked this scene, but I think it did not illustrate a slightly abusive father by real Gen X standards. It does make me wonder if the person who wrote this either wasn't Gen X or was, but was one of the few who never got corporal punishment. Anyway, that's enough. Moving on. Next scene, we are in Jackson during the apocalypse, obviously. Joel and Ellie have come back from Salt Lake City. They've been here for a couple months, and Joel's going into the bar to ask Seth, the guy who was the bigot guy or whatever, for something. We don't know what it is. He's brought him some Legos that he found in a house. And then also to order what is obviously going to be a cake, because Seth asked, vanilla or chocolate. Anyway, then we see Joel at home repairing or tuning up or whatever. He's modifying and repairing a guitar, which this is obviously a gift to Ellie. And then he's just finished when we see that Tommy and Ellie are arriving at home and Ellie has hurt herself. So he's escorting Ellie to her bed. I mean, I like this whole scene. Literally no complaints about any of this. I'm actually really happy to see Joel again, finally, being Joel. And it's sweet. Like, it's a very sweet thing. Like, we're seeing him doing kind of fatherly stuff. The only rough line was the whole, we've been here for 2 months, Seth, because Seth called him the new guy. But that wasn't even bad. That was fine. Like, that was perfectly, this is good. No complaints. Liked it. I like seeing Joel. I think I'm just happy to see Joel. So we get the story that Ellie was in some sort of a kitchen situation and burned her arm on a pot. And Joel's like, how the hell did that happen? Like, why would you do that? Ellie is kind of drugged out from painkillers and goes, well, I don't know. I just thought I'd go, and so I went. I don't have any complaints about this. It's really sweet. Like, it's nice to see moments like this. Like, I wish we could have had this at the beginning of this season. This would have been so nice. We didn't have any positive interactions between Joel and Ellie. So when we had the loss of Joel, it was like, what? Whatever. I guess what? There was no emotion behind it, at least for me, and probably for most people by what I gather from the comments in my previous episodes. And the reason is because you don't feel that there's a loss. There's no loss if there was no connection between these characters before. We saw nothing of the two of them being a father and daughter in any positive kind of way before Joel was lost. So when and I'm not talking about season 1. We had literally an alien in the place of Ellie at the beginning of season 2. Their relationship made no sense when we take into consideration where we left it the previous episode. And I know I said it in another episode before that when Ellie apparently was like, what happened at Salt Lake City? Did you tell me the truth? And he goes, yes. And she goes, okay. I don't know why people thought that that was supposed to mean that she was upset with him. Like that, oh, our relationship is over now, because that is not what that seemed to say at all. So the entire season up to that point was about Ellie accepting Joel as like a father figure, this person who will protect her, someone she can rely on. I mean, that whole splue that she gave, like, everybody who I've ever cared about has left me or died, whatever that, except you, to Joel. This is her expressing that she's never been able to rely on somebody before except him. Like, this is the person I want to be able to rely on. So when we get to that moment in the end of season 1 where she says, okay, yes, it seems that there's an awareness that he's not being entirely truthful to her, but it shouldn't be like well, that's the end of it. Because everything leading up to this moment was, do you accept Joel as your protector, the person you can rely on, the person who's going to do what is best for you? And her accepting, okay. Like, for the first time, this is somebody she knows that she can rely on. So I don't understand. If it was supposed to say something else, nothing leading up to it was leading up to it. Nothing that happened before it would equate to this moment, meaning I can't trust you anymore, when literally everything before it was about, can you rely on this person? So anyway, we left season 1 going, there's a good relationship between these two. We come into the beginning of season 2 going, it's been destroyed. There is literally nothing left of it. The two of them may live on the same property, but they don't talk to each other. She has excommunicated him from her life. So there's no relationship. That means that when he dies, there's no loss. And remember, this is not real life. This is fiction. And the way to create emotional resonance in moments of loss is to show that there was something there before. But there wasn't anything there before this in this season. Sorry, but everything that happened in season 1 ended at the end of season 1, apparently, because when we started season 2, there was no relationship. So anyway, let's keep going. So yeah, I would love to have had this scene with Tommy and Joel and her going like, I just really wanted to wear short sleeves again. He's like, oh, okay, like, I understand, you know, and like pulling her and giving her a kiss on the head, like such a nice little fatherly, daughterly moment. Like, I loved this. Would have been nice to have had this at the beginning of season 2, so we could establish that they had a nice father-daughter relationship. Like, this is actually where I expected it to go after season 1. Get to that ending in season 1, I expected this to be what followed. So, where was this? Where was this?
Hey.
Happy 15th birthday, Eli.
That's cute.
Well, let's hope Seth bakes better than he spells.
He does.
Okay, that was less cute, but all right. This is still a sweet moment. I like it. I wish Ellie had not scooped up, like, she didn't grow up in the jungle. She grew up in a school for boys and girls who were being raised to be soldiers for Fedra. I'm sure she knew etiquette. Like, you don't just dig it. Like, how's Joel supposed to enjoy this? Is he supposed to just, eat the crumbs that fall out of your mouth? And like, oh my gosh, it's so gross. She's destroying this cake, which we knew was not an easy thing to make. Like, Joel obviously had to go looking through houses for Legos and bring this back. And, whatever. It's still a sweet moment. I'm still enjoying this. And I actually really love that Seth spelled Ellie's name Eli. Like, that's funny.
And used a Dremel to carve the, well, it's a rotary drill, or could be a saw depending on the tip, but actually it's a pretty versatile tool.
I love that that's where his mind went with that. This is sweet. I love this. I love that he's bringing out a guitar, the guitar that he had made for her or fixed up for her. So she asked for him to play, and he play. I don't recognize the song, but it's nice, but he doesn't sing well. But that's okay. It's sweet. This is so sweet. I love this. And so, yeah, Ellie's sitting there just listening to him sing this song, and it's like, thematically fits the two of them so well, because it's about, you know, how if I were ever to lose you, I would surely lose myself. And he's talking about how, like, you know, being broken and being whole again. And, you know, it's just nice. It's a very nice, like, very thematically apropos song for the two of them. He hands the guitar over to her, and all she's done is wiped her hands on a kitchen towel. Like, they're still gross and sticky with the sugar from the cake. But anyway, she's just, you know, holding it, and he says, I understand about your arm. Like, I understand. And it's just sweet. This is sweet. This was so needed before the death of Joel. The fact that this was put here instead of before that, I do not understand the purpose. If somebody can tell me what the hell the purpose is, like, why put this here before the loss of Joel, let me know, because I don't understand it at all. Like, it doesn't make any sense storytelling-wise. Like, for a narrative that is about somebody going on a revenge quest because they have lost somebody that they loved, but showing no love before that, it makes zero sense. And remember, when I say before that, I mean in this season. When you start up a new season and for no reason they are suddenly not friends anymore, it doesn't make any sense for this revenge quest to have happened or for there to have been a sense of loss. Anyway, I gotta keep going. I gotta let things go. We jump ahead 1 year to obviously her next birthday. So this would be her 16th birthday. And Joel and Ellie are out in the countryside trekking. They're talking like they're not worried that there's any infected, which bugs me a little less being out in the country like this, because it seems like the infected collect in populated or previously populated areas more so than out in the open countryside. They're walking down a trail, and I think it's supposed to look like a deer trail, but it looks like a heavily traveled people trail, but that's fine. That's the least of my concerns. But this is nice. They're talking like father-daughter kind of stuff. This is nice. She's trying to guess what he got her for her birthday, because this is obviously birthday trip. And he's just, you know, stringing her along, and they're teasing. And she brings up that Jesse went out on patrol or became a patroller when he turned 16. So she's expressing like, I want to go on patrol too. He says that she needs to develop patience first, and then she's like, well, Jesse said that he would train me if you let him. And he's basically saying like, is there something going on between you and Jesse? You know? And she's like, what? And he's like, I've seen the way you look at him, and you know, like I can pick up on these kind of things. And she's cracking up to herself and going like, I think you're way off on this one. He's like, anyway, it's cute. I like this. This is all cute stuff. Like why didn't we have this at the beginning of season 2? Why was this saved for now? I don't understand the logic behind any of this. And it just gets better. So the place where he is taking her is to this dinosaur and a museum, and she's like, oh my gosh, it is a dinosaur. Like, that was one of the things that she had guessed. Like, is it a dinosaur? Is it a convertible? You know, like all these things. And he, like, this is cute. This is so sweet. Why was this saved for now? I have no complaints. Even Ellie's little snarky responses and, you know, her behavior and stuff, like, it's far more acceptable now than it ever has been before. Well, first of all, because she's supposed to be an adult and more mature by then, even though 19 is not an adult, sorry. But here she's 16 years old, which means she was just 15. And it's a little more forgivable. And it's also cute because he doesn't know of what her experience of the world is. You know, him even bringing up, has anybody told you about the birds and the bees? And she goes, you mean dicks and vaginas? Like, he hasn't been able to shelter her like a good parent would, who actually has control of their child. She's a little bit feral, right? So all of this stuff is more acceptable and cute and funny because it's that odd dynamic where now they are a father and daughter pair, but she's just a little bit more wild than what his daughter ever would have turned out to be at this age. And it's sweet. I don't know. I'm really liking this. I am like, this is what I needed. I needed this before episode 1 of this season. That's all I can say. This could not get any sweeter. Like, I'm actually getting teary-eyed. So they go into the museum that's just off of this T-Rex, and there is a planetarium with like a mobile, like, of planets in the solar system back when there was 9 planets. I was from that era.
You heard about Pluto? It's messed up, right?
She starts cranking it to turn it, and it occurs to her and him that he has come here in advance and like prepared all this stuff for her. Like, he came and greased up the gears on this mobile so that it would actually work, so she could crank this thing and watch the planets circle around each other. Like, this is so sweet. This is like the ultimate father-daughter date. This is what a father-daughter date should be. Like, setting a very high bar for her so that when she's out dating, even if it's other women, like, if you don't get a woman who treats you like this or puts as much thought and knows you well enough to do this kind of stuff for you, they ain't in love with you. They ain't thinking about you. This is so sweet. Then he takes her into this other room, and there's one of the capsules, one of the Apollo, what did he say? It was Apollo 15 capsules that is just sitting there. And he's like, well, why don't you open it? So she's like, opens it up, and he's like, wait, if you're going into space, you need a helmet. And so he hands her a rock, and there's displays. Oh my gosh, this is just so freaking sweet. This is so cute. I love this. Why didn't we have this at the beginning of this season? It makes no sense. Someone, please make this make sense. Then they climb into the capsule, and Ellie's just sitting there. They're like sitting in, you know, the spots where the astronauts sat. And she's like, I can't believe it. They sat right here, because this one actually did go into space and come back. And then he pulls out a cassette, and it is a recording of the radio transmissions between the astronauts and I'm guessing Houston talking to each other at liftoff. We are literally listening to the communications between the two during a takeoff. Like, this is so cute. This is so sweet. I love the way this is directed too. I love that we are kind of like, she closes her eyes, and then, I mean, we just see the lighting on her change. Like, the lighting looks like, what if they were in the capsule and they took off? Like, what would it kind of look like, you know, shifting? I don't know if it's exactly accurate, but it doesn't matter. We get the idea. It's so good. This is so sweet. I love this. What happened? What happened? I was an astrophysics major before I switched over to English literature. I did 5 years of schooling for astrophysics because I wanted to go into space. My hopes were dashed, though, because I have severe enough asthma that they're like, you're never going to be in the astronaut program. Like, my family was in the astronaut program. Like, it's in my blood. I want to go to space. But then I was like, oh, they don't let asthmatics go into space. Great. Okay. So it kind of just turned my attention towards writing, which was my second love. This was like, it's touching me, like, in a very special way. Like, that movie, October Sky, where you've got Jake Gyllenhaal playing Homer Hickam, looking up at the sky and seeing Sputnik go across the sky. Like, I cry every single time. And it happens twice in that movie, and I cry both times because I'm like, I understand. It's so beautiful. I'm getting like those kind of vibes here where she's like imagining the liftoff and like the dream of going to space. I love this. Why is this show so shit?
I do okay.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, you did okay. This was like the best father-daughter date. This was like perfection. This is like, it only happens in stories kind of perfect. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, this is great television. This is great storytelling. Like, this is gorgeous. I love this. They leave the museum and he is saying like, hey, I really like going out and doing this. We should do more of this. And Ellie's like, yeah, like, yes, definitely. But then she like stares off into the forest and kind of feels like disturbed. And he's like, you okay? And she's like, oh yeah. And then they walk off. So like it's left on a little bit of a sour note. I'm assuming that they're alluding to like what happened in season 1. But the thing is moments like this whole scene with the dinosaur and the museum sort of undermines everything that I was told about that moment at the end of season 1. So did she reject him as the father figure? Did she feel like she can't trust him or doesn't like what did that mean? And if it meant what people told me it meant, this undoes that. So I'm very confused, but I loved this scene. It was so good. Like this whole episode so far, I've really been enjoying. Again, it's another example of like, if there are very few and they're not too severe of problems, I can come away from this story going like, oh my gosh, I love this. Like even Ellie is super likable. Why? Because she is appreciating the things that Joel is giving to her, and she's cute and fun and spunky, and she's not being shown to be selfish and unappreciative of anybody, and literally like she's a sociopath. Episodes 1 through 5, she has been a sociopath. Where was this? Where was this Ellie? What happened? I don't know, maybe they're gonna explain it, but this is like, I'm not understanding. I'm really not understanding. Before we continue, please like, subscribe, and comment, even if it's just with an emoji. It's a free way for you to support the channel, and for me, it might bring in some money from all the commercials they keep putting on my videos. Or if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon or Ko-fi. I've got links in the description. Or you can hit the Money Heart Thanks button down below. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, well, the next bit's a bit abrupt, but we jump ahead to 1 year. It's now her 17th birthday. Joel is coming home in the rain, and he's got a chocolate cake this time. So before, it was a struggle to get even just a vanilla cake. Like, he wanted chocolate, but it was like, say vanilla, it's easier. You're like, okay, vanilla. So now he's got a chocolate cake. And he gets to her bedroom door and can hear voices in there giggling. And so he knocks. Very nice of him to knock first. Hear them going, oh shit, and like, that's tussling, whatever. So he quickly opens up the door and sees Ellie and Kate buttoning up their shirts. And so he's like, what the hell is this? He makes the comment to Kate. She's 17, by the way. And Kate's like, well, I'm 19. So did they obliterate the whole 18 years old, you're an adult? Which, I mean, you're not an adult until you're like around 25. I'm sorry. I know there's gonna be people who are gonna lash me in the comments like, but people go to war at 18. Yeah, because you have an adult body and there is a physical need on the battlefield. Like, I'm convinced that's the only reason why we use 18 as the marker for you're an adult. It should definitely be more like, I'd say probably 25, because that is when executive function in the brain actually is completed developing. Like, you literally don't have a fully developed executive function until you're around 25. I think it's even older for boys, actually. But anyway, so in this case, though, it doesn't bug me. Not that big of a deal. 19, 17, like, it's hard to make that distinction, except that it would be illegal right now. So Kate excuses herself and she's packing up a tattoo kit, which Joel's like, what the hell is that? And goes and looks at Ellie's arm and she's gotten a tattoo.
So all the teenage shit all at once, huh? Drugs and tattoos and sex, experimenting with girls?
It wasn't sex, and it wasn't a f***ing experiment.
He's like, you're not yourself. You don't know what you're saying or whatever. We'll talk when you're yourself again. And then he walks out. This scene is a much easier to digest transition in their relationship from being this harmonious father-daughter thing to like, now it's slightly less harmonious. Like, you've got her wanting to grow up and do, adult things that adults should be doing. And she's 17 years old, so that's the appropriate age that she would start doing this sort of thing. And him experiencing this for the first time as a father, because he did not have a daughter all the way up through teenage years. This is good. This is like the start of conflict that I can get behind, and like, I understand where both of these characters are coming from. Later that night, Ellie is moving her stuff out of her room into the garage, or trying to, and Joel, who's awake in bed, like he's so disturbed by what had happened that he can't even sleep, and he hears the commotion and comes out to her like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, I'm moving out to the garage, and he's like, it's pouring rain, like hell you're moving out there, and plus there's no running water or heat or anything, and so she's like, well fine, what?
You may not like the rules, but this is my house.
No, it isn't. You don't own it. They gave it to you. Sorry, to us. You don't own anything.
Yeah, when you live in a communist society, you don't own anything. It is literally a gift to those who are productive to the community. But the thing is I don't think that this house is something they would have given to just Ellie if she showed up by herself. However, if Joel had showed up just by himself, they would have just given it to him because he's a contributing member of this society. And maybe she is at this point. Like, it was even what Tommy said earlier, that she was doing, I don't know what KB or KP, whatever. She was doing something obviously productive, being in the kitchen, it seems like, helping out with something, but she's a minor. She showed up at age 15, so they would not have just given her own house. If they didn't have her living with Joel, they would have given her to some other family, and then she would have been under their rules. And sorry, but when you are in a household, the parent is the one in charge. Like, this is his house. He makes the rules. You want to stay in this house? These are the rules. Like he doesn't have to move out. But anyway, it's actually strong in her. Like, it's a strong argument from her. So I'll give them that. That's definitely good. Because this is the sort of thing that the teenager would come back at. Like, it's not your house. Except that I wish Joel would have said, but this is my family. I am in charge of our family. I am the protector. I am the provider. I am the leader here. And if it wasn't me, and it was just you by yourself, you would be with some other family raising you. So I don't like that Joel doesn't stand up for himself. Anyway, and it does get a little bit worse, but there is kind of an explanation for this, sort of. I just don't buy it that well. I do like what Ellie does here, though.
Like, I'm sorry that I got a tattoo and smoked weed and fooled around with a girl. Except I'm not.
Like, she's sorry, but she's also not sorry. Like, this is great. This is good conflict that actually would, I think, be going on in the mind of a daughter who does love her father, does respect him, but at the same time wants to break free. Like, there's a lot of internal conflict in teenagers that this is actually exemplifying quite well, and still making her likable. Like, for her to say, I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry, makes her, like, we all go, I get it now. Not, if she were to just say, I'm not sorry I did all this stuff, that would make her a spoiled, self-centered teenager, which there are those too. And I know you can say, like, oh, well, all teenagers do that and say things that they don't really mean or whatever. Yeah, but in fiction, you have to show that there are also likable traits there too. This is like the best example of how to do it. For her to say, I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry, like, shows that in a much better way than just showing that she's a spoiled, self-centered brat. So, and then Joel says, all right, well, look, maybe it would be a good thing for you to move into the garage and have some space of your own, but, give me a few days, let me fix it up for you. Like, it's not appropriate to move in there right now, first of all, because it's raining, and secondly, because of all the other stuff that was mentioned. She's like, okay. It bothers me that he is just like, okay, I guess my fatherly role is done now. Like, she's essentially moving out. Like, he's saying, I'll let you move out. So she doesn't have to follow his rules anymore. So it's like he's conceding that you're no longer my daughter. Like, I no longer have any responsibility for you. So it's just odd. It's like a very big leap. I do think it would have been more realistic for him to say, like, how about I give you some more freedoms, but you don't do these things in the house. Like, you can't do these things in this house because I do not approve. It's not acceptable. Like that. I don't know. It's okay. It's okay though, the way that they handle this, because they're showing that maybe Joel is not the most perfect parent. Also, it is an odd situation because she is not technically his daughter. And so she developed for 14 and a half years before meeting Joel. Or how long were they trekking together? Wasn't it almost a year? I can't remember how long it was, but it was a while. There was a lot of development that she went through that he had nothing to do with, was not part of in any way. I think he certainly bought his parental role in her life by literally choosing her over what would be the guilt of possibly damning a bunch of other people to not, like, he did a lot for her. So He breaks her out of this hospital, first of all, to save her life. He had to kill all these people in order to save her life because they were going to kill her or then kill him if he didn't kill them. And the possibility that there maybe could have been a cure made from her, that's also like something that he is going to have to accept as, you know what, I chose to give you a future over maybe humanity possibly having a chance to be immune or spread immunity. Anyway, it's not really in recognition of that particular aspect of Joel, but it does recognize that he is not technically her father and was not her father figure for the majority of her life. I just thought that everything leading up to this showed that she kind of accepted that she had accepted, you're my dad, you are my protector, you're my provider, you've shown me what love is, taking her out on that date, making all these sacrifices for her sake. Like, he's done the fatherly stuff. He has accepted the father role. And this is like the first test of when they have conflict. But I like that she apologized. Like, this is actually a very good scene. Like, this is probably the best scene up until now because I can see the back and forth. I do wish that Joel had fought more for his father role as opposed to doing what he's did in the beginning of this episode when somebody wanted to kill him and was just like, okay, and like, let you go. But again, this is more good than bad, with the exception of that one thing. Oh, so then he helps her move the mattress onto the bed and he says, can I take a look at, the tattoo on the arm? And he's looking at it and he's like, actually, it's pretty good. And,
looks like a penis. Yes, it does.
I didn't notice it was a moth at first. I was like, why did she get that on her arm? But okay, now I get it. But then he asked her, what is I never asked what is it with the moths. Like, she's obviously got a moth fetish, or she draws moths all over the place. And she's very evasive and says that, oh, it's just something I read about in a book about dreams and, symbolism and stuff. And Joel's like, oh, like about change and growing up, like, that sort of stuff. And she's like, obviously didn't think that's what it symbolized, even though that's definitely what moths symbolize. I actually did a lot of research on this sort of stuff before, not dreams, but like what creatures and animals symbolize in various cultures. And I'm pretty sure a moth does represent that. But anyway, he ends up excusing himself. It's a little awkward between the two of them, but they're at peace. Like, this is much better showing of the conflict in this father-daughter relationship at this stage. Like, they're fighting to stay together. They're conceding that there's definitely some splitting that's happening here, but we still want to be together, and we still are willing to make sacrifices on our own part in order to save this. Except I wish that Joel had fought a little bit more for her to stay somehow. Something. Would have been one slight more transition between her moving out would have been, I think, a little better. But I can give that they didn't have the time for that. Mainly because they didn't do this earlier in the season. If they had done this earlier in the season, they might have had the time to show. Like, this should have been its own, like, we should have had several episodes showing their relationship starting to become contentious, that it was great, which didn't make sense because of where we left it off in season 1, according to what everybody tells me season 1's ending meant in the comments. But just showing this progression would have been so nice. And then it would have taken us on the journey of seeing how their relationship, if it's going to lead to what we got at the beginning of season 1, we'll see how it became that way. So anyway, I gotta just shut up and keep watching because now apparently Joel is visiting Gail. The next scene is probably from the next day. He's visiting Gail and she's trying to just sit and eat and read a book, and he asks like, hey, I'm guessing you guys have studied dreams. And she's like, do I have like the doctor is in like Lucy from Peanuts? And he's like, dead, like, no, does not get the reference at all. That's okay. And he sits himself down and asks about, what do moths represent in dreams? They represent like change, right? And she goes, no, they represent death if you believe in that shit, which the good doctors don't. And he's very disturbed by this and leaves. Like, this woman is being used as a plot device. It is very obvious. And because they don't make her look like a good psychologist. And this whole thing, though, seems to contradict the earlier scene in episode 1 where Joel walks in to his therapy appointment and says, I did what you suggested and have given her more space. I let her move into the garage. But this last scene just before this just said that it was Ellie's idea. Ellie wanted to move into the garage. He obviously didn't even comprehend it because it wasn't prepared for her. Like, what happened there? Anyway, that bugs me. If somebody handed me this script, I would have said, go back and change that thing. Change it to where, oh my gosh, no, just change the scene before this. Here's how you fix this. You have him set with Ellie, like, no, you're not moving into the garage right now because of the, electrical and plumbing and whatever's not hooked up to the garage, like it'd be freezing, and also the rain. And she's like upset about that. But then he says, let's talk about this more later. Then they end it there. And then we can have, like, he goes and talks to Gail and stuff, and it's about, what do I do with her? And she's like, well, maybe you should let her move into the garage and have some space, or whatever. And then when we get to that episode where it's him telling her, I've let her have her space, that would actually make sense. I mean, my gosh, how convoluted does that change? But the thing is that previous thing doesn't make this make any sense. Yeah. But anyway, the whole moth thing representing death, I've never heard before. And I just Googled it after watching this scene, and I could not find where a moth represents death. I have studied animals and insects and symbolism, and not for dreams or whatever, but when I'm writing a story, this sort of thing came up and I wanted to know more about it. And it is a butterfly and a moth that represents change. It has to do with, the chrysalid, what do you call it? Chrysalid, whatever, you know what I mean? When it goes from a larva into a cocoon and comes out a butterfly, that's change. And the same thing with moths, like they do the same thing. So I don't get this. I could not even find any representation of a moth representing death, but this woman is being used as a plot device. Her character has nothing to do with what's going on in this story between the two of these characters, except to drop information that they want the audience to know. Like, they want the audience to be thinking certain things, like moth represents death. Like, this is the only way we could figure this out. What if Joel just went to the town library, because they have talked about, I think, that they have a school and a library and whatever, stuff like that, and he looks it up himself? That could have worked just as easily. Anyway, whatever. The scene ends with Ellie packing up her room, and we can see amongst her drawings of moths that she has written, "You have a greater purpose." So we're obviously relating this back to what happened back at the whatever. I don't know how death would represent you have a greater purpose. But, I mean, I know it was like, oh, well, it's because if she had died, there would have been a cure. Except that wasn't the situation, was it? It was, we kill you, and we might be able to make a cure from you. Which I actually went back and looked at my reviews of season 1, where it was me and my friend Randy and his daughter Lucy. And we had a big problem with that in that moment, where we're like, well, it's not for sure that they can make a cure from her. It was presented as a maybe, and then you can't mass produce a cure just from taking something out of her head. And how are they going to do this? Do they have the lab and the facilities and the scientists to know how to create a vaccine from this, or how to do anything from this? And then it was brought up, why didn't they just take blood tests and do stuff with her? Hey, maybe we can figure out what to do. No, we're immediately going to dissect her brain and figure it out on the spot. What if all it took was a blood sample that you can then derive a vaccine from that? How do you know? Have you ever tried it? No, they couldn't have, because there was no person before her that was immune. And then, so my thought is, you could fix this scenario. If I had season 1 and 2 handed to me as a manuscript, I would have said you could probably fix your season 1 issues if there was another immune person before, and they had gotten all of this testing done with them, and it was decided, I think the only thing that we can do is cut this out of your brain. I think that is what it's going to take. And then for some reason that person died or something. Maybe there was a raider attack, or there was, something. Maybe infected actually attacked them and ate them. And they had the facilities and were ready to use them. But there was a limited time on something. I don't know. The limited time thing it's tough to make that call. I don't know how you would create that limited time. Like maybe there was some facility that they've got working, but they can't keep it running forever because they are literally running out of the type of thing that they're using as a power source for this, which like, I don't know how that would work. But anyway, something like that. Then they discover Ellie and they're like, we have another immune person. So they need to quickly get her to this place and do this procedure because they already know we've tried everything else. This is the last resort. Like, I think that would have probably fixed that. The urgency issue, like, why did they not ask her or like give her the opportunity to willingly turn herself over? I think the reason they did that actually is because it's much easier to kill somebody when you don't know them or you don't have to look at them and see them aware that they're going to die. Like, much easier to kill, especially a child, when you don't give them an opportunity to show that they are a human being, especially a child human being. So I could see that being why they did it. But then it just shows even more that the Fireflies were cowards. They were cowards who figured we can create this cure, which even in my season 1 reviews, we were like, they just want this to be like their power chip. Like, we now have the cure. Y'all should abandon Fedra and join Firefly. Like, we should be the ones in charge because we have this cure, which Fedra should just like come in there and bomb all of them and get it. But anyway, that's probably what would happen. But the Fireflies do not look like heroes for wanting to kill a child without asking permission, without doing anything. There are stories in history, I'm thinking like in the Bible even, where it was looked down on, societies were looked down on for sacrificing children for a greater good. If even when children or, it's basically saying you don't have the right to live because we all want to live. That has never been looked at as a good thing ever. And it would be a society based on we are here because we did something really horrific and shameful. Like, that is a society built on shame. And it should be the last resort. It should be that they give this child the opportunity. And there's too many other factors that make it unbelievable that they would just like, well, we're going to capture her and kill her. But we've already discussed all of that. But either way, this is not a good situation. And I don't think that the Fireflies would have used this power for good in any way. They already demonstrated that they are cowards, that they are a cowardly people because they tricked this kid into showing up at their doorstep so that they could slaughter her for a chance at creating a vaccine that we did not have any reason to believe that they could actually create. And no, saving humanity is not a cowardly thing. However, to decide that somebody else should die so that everybody else could live and not give that person any choice in the matter is cowardly. If you think that somebody else should die, one should die to save many, ask that person first. We want you to make this sacrifice. We are asking you to make this sacrifice. So that way when they say no, if they say no, like maybe they'll say yes. But if they say no, you have to face the consequences of conscience that will result from you forcefully taking somebody else's life for other people's sake. The Fireflies are cowards. They don't want to feel that guilt. It makes them feel better knowing that, well, she didn't know that she was sacrificing her life. She didn't know that she was going to die. So that makes it okay. That makes you feel better, but that doesn't mean that it's okay. It just means that you get to feel better about the horrible thing you are doing. So you're running away from the consequences of your choice as best you can. The consequences of your choice are, I have killed an innocent child against their will for a chance to save everybody else. You should fully take that responsibility if you are going to do that and you want to be viewed as the good guy in any way. Joel actually did do that. Joel knew they are going to kill this child, so I should kill them against her will, and I will be guilty of possibly, maybe, preventing a cure from being found if I go and rescue her. But I'm going to accept that and go and do that. running away from the consequences, running away from the guilt of what you are going to do does not mean that you shouldn't feel that guilt. It just means you get to feel better. You are cowardly. You get to feel better about the horrible, shitty thing that you are doing because you can tell yourself, well, they didn't know that they were going to die. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's get back to this. Okay, mixed feelings, but mostly good feelings here. So we jump to 2 years in the future. So now this is going to be the same year that Joel died because Ellie is 19. She's in her garage apartment rehearsing questions that she has. She obviously plans to confront Joel and ask him about what happened. And she's saying, I've written all of these questions down. I want to ask you because it's been kind of bothering me for a little while. But, you know, if the Fireflies were able to see us coming from a mile away, how come they didn't see a whole gang of raiders coming? And if everybody in the hospital was killed, how did you escape with your life while carrying me the whole time? Like she's expressing the things that are on the minds of the viewers, the people who have watched, well, I guess, and the game players, people who've watched the show and played the game. Like these would have been the loopholes and like, wait a minute, wouldn't she have figured this stuff out? Yeah, she's expressing that she has. I like this. It does fall a little bit into the category of the writers had her saying this so that we, the audience, could see that the writers are aware of some sort of a loophole, like that we should have been wondering. Like we're all going, wait a minute, what about, didn't she figure they saw them from a mile away? And how come they didn't see the raiders? And how did he get out of there carrying her this whole time? Like this is the writers telling the audience we are aware of that and we are showing that these are things she has thought of. But it's okay because she's sitting here rehearsing it like she wants to confront Joel, and I can believe this. I do, again, wish that this had happened before the town hall meeting in episode, 3? Because this would show that she is the sort of person who, when she's paused and calm and collected, she can think and she likes to write things out so that she says things the way that she means to say them. This would be like an establishment of this is how she does stuff. But because she was shown to be this like flying off the handle, like crazy person beforehand, unable to control her impulses, when we had that scene in the town hall, I didn't believe she was capable of doing that. Even after being told, like she had to obviously be told by Jesse, you should write down your cool and collected thoughts. Like maybe she should have thought that's what she should do on her own. So that way when she's able to say these things in a calm and collected way, we could see if she's done this sort of thing before. This is why she's well-spoken in that meeting, because this is how she's able to gather her thoughts and think rationally and think well. Instead of Jesse just suggested it to a sociopath who is crazy, and then she's suddenly able to come up with this very good speech. But this would have served to show that she did have that in her. This is why this should have happened before. They should have had everything that has happened in this episode so far should have been the real episode 1 or 2, or like you could probably have done several episodes to develop this. It would have been awfully slow paced, but we could have had some cool adventures and like watched how, certain things happen. Like how does Jackson handle a large group showing up? Like what do they do? What do they do if like there's a caravan that shows up and they literally cannot accommodate all of them? What do they do? That would have been totally interesting stuff. And it'd be fun if she could like go on adventures, maybe get into trouble with some of the kids that are part of these groups or other teenagers or whatever. I don't know. It would have been fun. But anyway, so Joel shows up to her apartment. He's like, oh, you're already dressed up. And she's like, yeah, I was having trouble sleeping. He's like, well, it's perfect because it's the perfect thing for your 19th birthday. He's going to take her on her first patrol because he's like, you've been patient, the thing that he said she needed to develop. And it's about time, like you're 19, so let's go. And she's like, oh my gosh, okay. And, so she's gonna go get your shoes on or whatever. And he's like, and get your rifle. This is great. Like I wanted this stuff earlier. Anyway, let's just keep watching. So right off here, I'm seeing Ellie already kind of being that very negative person that we saw at the beginning of this season. They're riding on the trail. She's like, so how many, what's the record for most kills on a first patrol? And he's like 0. And we're not going to have any kills on this trail because this is like the safest one that we have. And she's like, oh, happy birthday to me. Rather than being joyful at officially being out on patrol, she's pissed off that she's not going to get to kill anything. I mean, this is like, I would have liked to have seen that slow transition, but I guess they've already jumped into, they just don't really get along. I don't know. I'm not entirely pleased with it, but I'm not also I'm also not like, oh, this makes no sense at all. Like, it does make sense to get to this point if they've had enough conflict between them. So he came over to bring her on patrol. She seemed excited and happy about that. But anyway, so he tells her, get out your binoculars and start scanning. And she's like, there's nothing out here. And he's like, well, we're practicing, pretend. Like, this is training. You are not on patrol. You are training. This is your first patrol.
Oh,
What?
there's a little squirrel a big squirrel. We should probably report that.
That was actually funny. That joke was hilarious. I'm sorry. That was really funny. But anyway, so they decide, Joel's like, all right, stop. But I wish, again, he wouldn't say don't pretend. Like, they should do it anyway. But he then starts asking her, or saying to her, like, hey, I know that you're really busy with your own stuff, but I wish we could do this sort of thing more often. Remember, he had asked before, or even said before, like, we should do this more often. She's like, yes, I'm in, and then we didn't really see that the two of them do that. Like, maybe that's why. It would have been nice to have had this spread out over a couple of episodes. But anyway, I understand time constraint. So she answers the whole, I wish we could go out and do this sort of thing more often. She says kind of like, yeah. And it's obviously not a very enthusiastic yes. And he notices and he looks back because he's not a sociopath. He understands there was a change in that tone. It didn't sound like she really wanted to. Something's off. So he's, you okay? Everything all right? And she's like, yeah, everything's fine. He's like, you sure? Because he didn't really sound, he's implying and he's probing like a good parent, like a normal, like even just normal friend would do this sort of thing. Before anything can come out, they get a buzz on the radio saying, hey, Eugene and Adam are in trouble. They're like, whatever, a little while away from where you guys are. You're the closest ones. And Joel's like, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And he tries to tell Ellie to get back to Jackson. She's like, no, I am not your kid. I am your partner. Which, this is like one of those moments where I agree. This is she should probably come along on this. Like, what, you're going to send her alone back to Jackson? But I also understand his reluctance for her to come with them. This is nice. Like, I don't really have any major complaints about any of this. I guess we have a visitor. The dogs are going to go nuts. They gallop off in the direction they're supposed to go and then park their horses because they come to like a really steep hill. And he's like, look, this will be faster if we climb down than take the switchbacks.
Who recalls the fable of the tortoise and the hare?
Peter, this doesn't seem safe.
Yeah, I'm afraid I might.
Everybody gets one. Tell him, Peter.
Apparently everybody gets one.
Bingo.
The whole reason they have this happen is because they don't want them with horses, I'm guessing. But anyway, they get down to the bottom of this and they can hear the infected and a gunshot off in the distance. And he's like, remember what I taught you? And she goes, I'm your back. I watch your back and you watch mine. This is exactly the sort of thing that I really wanted to see with the two of them, like the two of them working together as almost equals. Like, she has developed at this point to be a competent enough patroller, or to have been somebody who has suffered all of this stuff and been through this wild adventure. Remember, I think I brought this up in a previous review. She at one point stood watch all night for his sake because he was healing. Like, it's nice to see her being a grown-up. Like, this is you want to follow the characters on the journey to becoming this. A horse gallops by, dragging one of the other patrollers, and then we see a dead infected, and then the two of them come across Eugene, and he's leaning up against a tree, and they're like, hey, you okay? And he's like, no, and he exposes that he has been bitten. There's one really awkward shot. Like, I wouldn't, normally, this sort of thing, I wouldn't, call out as that really bugs me, but this really bugs me because it's either so poorly lit. No, this looks fake. This looks like a composite. It does not look like that is actually Eugene standing there. I think he was added in post. But anyway, I'm just being complainy about that. So they have come across Eugene. Thank God, we are going to see what happened to Eugene. Eugene starts bargaining with them, saying, hey, look, I figure I got about an hour before I turn. So why don't we go back to Jackson? I'll stand outside of the gates, and then you can bring Gail out to me and at a safe distance. And, please, I've got things that I need to say to her. And Joel's like, we can't do that. There's rules. And he's like, what do you mean? Yes, we can. And he's like, no. And then Eugene pulls out a gun, he's going to threaten them. You're going to take me back. Or what is he going to do? Kill them? But anyway, he doesn't have any bullets. So, and Joel recognizes that right away. Then Ellie is like, well, wait a minute. before you shoot him or anything, she goes up to Eugene and she says, hold out your hand and count to 10. And this is what, in season 1, I remember this. This is what they were doing, testing Ellie back when we first were introduced to her. They had her count to 10 and she would count slowly to 10 and she would be able to do it, indicating that she's not losing any of her mental faculty and she's not trembling. And so Ellie's like, this must be how you determine if somebody is about to turn. So she looks over at Joel and she's like, we've got time. Surely we can do this. She suggests that they tie him up and bring him that way. And then Joel is like, there are rules, no. And then she goes, let him see his wife. And Joel gives in and says, all right, go back and get the horses. We'll start walking. You meet up with us then. And she pauses as she's walking away and goes back and looks at him. And he's like, I promise. And so she takes off to go get the horses. And then Eugene thanks Joel and they start walking. As they're going, Eugene up ahead and Joel about 10 feet behind. Eugene is starting to pant and starts talking and saying, it makes you cold. The cordyceps, I didn't expect that. And he leans up against a tree and pauses. And you can see Joel like looking him up and down and realizing he's going a lot faster than he's not going to make it. This guy's not going to make it an hour before he starts losing his mind. And so when Eugene stops and now he's showing that he's disoriented, he's like, which way? Which way to get back? And Joel is like, you can see that it was like a decision. Like, do I tell him it's left because that's the way back to Jackson? Or do I tell him to go right because no way? And he says, go right. They emerge from the trees on the beach of this beautiful lake in the middle of this mountain valley. And it dawns on Eugene, no, wait. And Joel says, don't turn around. And he's aiming his rifle right at Eugene. Joel says, if you have any last words for her, I will pass them on to Gail. And then Eugene changes up his story. He's like, last words for her? No, I need last words for me. I'm dying. I'm terrified. And Joel lowers the rifle, considering he's scared. I don't want him to be scared. Eugene says, I need Gail. I need to see her face. Please, please let that be the last thing that I see. And you can see Joel, he's still not shooting him and says, if you love somebody, you can always see their face. Eugene takes off his glasses and it closes his eyes and is thinking, and then he opens his eyes and you can see that he is almost in a serene state.
I see her.
This was so nice. Okay, first of all, I've only seen this actor in 2 other things, The Matrix and Memento. And I remember him vividly from both of them. He made an impact. I don't know why I've never seen him in anything else. Maybe he's been in other roles, but seriously, he's a good actor. I like him. But this is not a questionable way for, there's nothing disturbing or terrible about how Eugene went here. Joel clearly did not want to kill him. He found him and it's protocol. We have to kill him. No, bring me back to Jackson. That's against protocol. That is against the rules. And then he gave in on that, okay, we'll take you back. And as they're walking, he clearly sees that he's not going to make it. He's starting to lose his mind. He's starting to lose stability. He doesn't even know where he is anymore. And then when he finally takes it, he's trying to make it nice for him. Here's this beautiful view. And the guy's like, no, I need it for me. I didn't need Gail to tell her something, even though that's what he just told her. I need it for me. I'm dying and I'm scared. And you can see Joel again, considering, maybe I can somehow make this happen. And then he says, I just want to see her face. Please let her face be the last thing I see. That's what I want. And he coaches him through his death. He's sitting there coaching Eugene through his death. If you love somebody, you can always see their face. And he waits. He waits for Eugene. He waits for the moment where he knows Eugene has found peace, found serenity, and then he takes him out. This is lovely. This is not a disturbing way to take somebody. Why is Gail upset about this?
You can always see their face.
I see her.
It's just so beautiful.
Nobody should be upset about this. They should be thank you, Joel, for doing it like this. Is she upset that he didn't bring him back and what? She gets to watch him be a psycho and then Joel has to blow his brains out right in front of her? What? This is so much nicer than what the other... This is what is wrong with... Why do people... What? This is not wrong. Nobody should be upset about this. Anyway, Ellie has showed up and she's obviously disturbed by what's happened. And as they're walking back, dragging the body, he's telling her, look, I'm going to radio ahead and tell them what happened. And Ellie's just pissed off, riding up ahead so you can't see what her face looks like. And he's like, when we get back, I'm going to tell Gail what she needs to know and nothing more. It's the right thing to do. And he's like, Ellie, I had no choice. Like, it is the right thing to do. She doesn't need to know that he went through this moment of panic where he was like scared. He died peacefully because of Joel. And like, what's the freaking big deal here? Like, say something. Tell Ellie he was going, first of all. Like, he should be saying he was starting to go. I was walking with him and he was getting disoriented. He was starting to shake. He was not going to make it. And what am I going to do? Bring him back to Jackson so that he can turn right in front of his wife? Like, that is so less disturbing, right? Like, she would prefer to see her husband losing his mind, turning into a monster, and have his brains blown out in front of her. Like, that would be way better. Like, that's the right thing to do. I don't get this. Like, this is what we're supposed to gather from this? Also, where did they get this big sheet to wrap Eugene's body in as they're dragging it?
Well, he wanted to tell you that he loved you. And, he wished he could say goodbye to you in person, but he didn't want to put you in danger. He wasn't scared. He was brave, and he ended it himself.
That's not what happened.
Oh, you little bitch. What the f*** are you doing?
He begged to see you. He had time. Joel promised to take him to you. He promised us both. And then Joel shot him in the head.
That's not what happened. Say something, Joel. Say something. Say something.
Please.
Get away from me, please.
What?
You swore.
Say something. Okay, what the holy crap, like I could see Ellie just standing there listening and like oh my gosh, this is infuriating. Gail starts crying and goes to Joel for comfort, and then Ellie, like the selfish bitch that she is, goes, that's a lie. He had time and he was terrified. We were gonna bring him back and Joel promised we could bring him back, but then Joel shot him in the head. Like, what? That is, first of all, that's not what happened. And secondly, like, the only reason Ellie is doing this is because she is mad at Joel for breaking his promise when, like, he didn't explain, like, hello, oh my gosh, this is stupid. This makes me frustrated in the same way when you have somebody having a secret conversation. I already said this in my last review, but two people are having a conversation and a third person comes along and only hears a fraction of that conversation. And so they get pissed off and then they run away. And it's like, if you just stood there like 5 seconds longer, you would have heard the rest of the conversation. You wouldn't have been pissed off at all. This is the same kind of thing. Joel is not saying a word. He should have explained in the previous scenes to Ellie, like, he was not going to make it. And then what was I going to do? Shoot him in front of Gail? Like, bring back a foaming at the mouth lunatic that I have to then shoot in the head? Oh, that's going to be so much better for her. He's giving this comforting story. Nothing that Joel said was untrue, except for the he did it himself thing. That was the only lie. And quite honestly, that was like, to help Gail. Like, hello, he was ready to go, so he did it himself. But Ellie, in her grand wisdom, decided, you know what? I should destroy Gail's peace of mind and make it 10 times worse for her by going, you know what? He was terrified. He was crying. He was terrified. He had time to bring him back. He wanted to come back here to say goodbye. And Joel promised us that we would bring him back here. But then Joel shot him in the head and broke his promise to both of us. None of that is true. Like, what the hell is wrong with, like, this girl is a sociopath. She just destroyed Gail's peace of mind because she wanted to feel better and stick it to Joel. Like, oh my gosh, this is infuriating. Like, okay, Ellie is a sociopath. This is the moment when she crossed the threshold of full-on sociopath. She does not give a shit about how this information would hit Gail. It does not affect Ellie at all for Gale to believe that her husband went out peacefully, which he did, and that he was brave, which in the end, he found that serenity. He accepted his moment. Ellie is a sociopath, and this was a really cruel thing for her to do, and she did it with selfish motivation. Are we supposed to root for Ellie at all? Are we supposed to be cheering her on? Because I was cheering for her in season 1, and now I just want her to die. Like, she deserves death. She deserves suffering, and she deserves death. I hope she ends up dead at the end of this whole thing. Like, she should. And if she doesn't, it'll just be like, well, I guess that's another nihilistic story that we can add to the many that are out there that most people walk away from feeling like it was a waste of time. Like, what is the point? Yeah, I forgot to add. So Gale, at hearing all of this, slaps Joel across the face when he was obviously turning to tell her like what actually happened, slaps him across the face. So once again, we're getting that whole like cut it off before he says the thing that would like totally fix everything. That's not true. Ellie was not with me. She didn't see him die. I did. And she slaps Joel and then goes over to Tommy. She's like, don't come near me, Joel. Don't come near me. Like, okay, wait. This really takes away any believability that the two of them would ever talk to each other after this. Like that, I mean, okay, apart from the fact that Joel did exactly what he's supposed to do, like these people kill infected the moment they are infected. Somebody gets a bite, you don't let them turn. They could possibly endanger other people. Plus, what is better, to wait for somebody to go mad and their loved ones see them going insane and then you shoot them in the brains? Or do you take them out when they're in a moment of peace? Like, that is the obviously better thing to do. Like, he should have said something, but he did the right thing. So I can get that Gale will be like, yes, I technically know that you did the right thing, but it's how you did it. Well, he didn't do it the way Ellie said that he did it. And he never explained it to her? But why the hell did he ever go to her for therapy or whatever after this? Like, this makes no sense. This is stupid. What? Okay, what the hell? So this makes even less sense. It's 9 months later. Like, this was 9 months, but I thought it was like at least a year before when like, maybe about a year. What the hell is this? So it's been 9 months since that, and Joel has been going to Gale for therapy? What? Did the people who wrote this understand how grief and anger from grief like that even works? Like, this woman was married, what did she say? It was 40 years? She would not be able to talk to Joel if she was never informed of the reality of how Eugene was killed. Or even if she was told that, she probably wouldn't be able to talk to him or even look at him for years. Years. There's no way that she would be seeing him as a patient or even talking to him. What the hell? Like, that makes no sense. Why was he, what? 9 months? That's like no time at all. She should be like, my husband of 40 years just died. And she would be saying that for like over a year because you know what? That's what it feels like. What the hell? Unless she just didn't really love her husband, but then that totally takes away. Oh my gosh, this is so stupid. What the hell is this? What is going on? So we're 9 months later and now we're at the dance. What the hell? What the hell? So we're in the New Year's dance. From Joel's perspective, he's sitting with Tommy and Marie. And Tommy basically excuses himself because the nephew is tired and like, say goodnight to Uncle Grumpy, and they go off. And then Marie talks to Joel, and says, hey, what I said to you earlier today about you guys being refugees, like, I'm sure that came across as ungrateful, but I want you to know that we are very grateful for you guys. Obviously, because Joel is a very, very productive and contributing member of this community. So of course they would be grateful. I mean, I like this conversation. She's saying, we love you and your family. So, just want you to know, even you as Uncle Grumpy are family, and family helps each other if you need it. Like, she's noticing that something is off between him and Ellie, like, which they would know anyway because of what happened with the Eugene thing nine months ago. So she's offering help, like, we can support you, we can help you work through this with Ellie. Like, I like this is nice. And of course, before he's about to say something, like, he's obviously considering opening up. This is, again, like, let's cut it off before anything real can happen. This is a very juvenile style of writing. This is Like a mature writer would know that, yeah, this is a trope in, romance novels that are cheap and young adult novels that are not super well written or mature. I hate when people do this in writing. It's so annoying. It is so annoying. Like before he's able to say something for the fourth or fifth time in just this episode, we get the whole incident with Ellie and Dina being approached by Seth in the dance where he's like, hey, in a church, dykes. And then Joel gets up, rushes over, shoves over Seth. Marie takes Seth out of there. And of course, Ellie is like, what's wrong with you? I don't need your fucking help. And devastated and should be a little embarrassed, Joel leaves. It would have been nice if this conversation happened with Tommy and Joel, but I do actually approve of it would probably be the wife, like the woman would be the one to approach him with the moral support. Like she and Tommy have talked about this and now she's the one who's comfortable with bringing it up to Joel. Like that's a realistic thing. But I did miss that we didn't have a meaningful conversation between Tommy and Joel in this season. Like the death scene, or not the death scene, the mourning scene with Tommy mourning over Joel's body in episode, 2 or 3? It was 3. That would have meant so much more if we had seen a meaningful scene, even just like this, with the two of them before Joel's death. So it's the contrast thing. You create joy so that sadness feels sad. This is why some of the saddest novels are the ones that have a lot of comedy in them too. Like they're very funny and then something devastating happens and you're just like devastated. Why? Because you were experiencing joy just a few minutes ago. It's like if here is where your stasis is and then it falls, it only falls this much. But so let's say you start your stasis up here, like where everything's really great, and then you still fall the same amount as from where stasis originally was. Now it's up here though. So that fall is a lot further. It's like it hits harder when you have that contrast there. But we didn't do that. And we're getting this here when it doesn't really mean anything. Like, why are we doing this now? This doesn't really make any sense. Anyway. And, next, we get that scene where Joel is up on the porch with the guitar, like he's just finished fixing it. And then Ellie shows up. She's standing there. They look at each other like maybe they're going to talk, but then they don't. And she walks off towards the garage, which is what we were shown back in episode 1. But surprise, no. They did talk. She comes over onto the porch and let's have a conversation. Somebody earlier in one of the comments said, oh no, they did actually talk. And I was like, no, they didn't. Like, what the hell are you even talking about? Apparently they had seen this episode before, or guess maybe they saw they must have done this in the game too. So I went back and I looked at that scene. I was like, why didn't I notice that they had had a conversation afterwards? I watched the scene where she walks past him. And then the next episode when we're in her room and oh, okay, the guitar is in there. Even if I had noticed or thought why is the guitar here, it would have been well, obviously Joel, after she went off to bed, he finished fixing the guitar and then put it in her room for her. That's what a parent does. They come into your room sometimes and do stuff, but they don't want to wake you. Even Jesse said, Joel said we shouldn't wake you this morning, let you sleep. That's what a parent does. But I don't know, I just don't think I would have looked at this guitar and thought, oh, that must mean they did have a conversation. I would have more easily believed that this was a continuity error, that some scriptie didn't do their job because this scene wasn't supposed to be here, or this guitar wasn't supposed to be here. I'm sorry, but that's just this very, very misleading. And then they doubled down on it later when Gail asked her.
He meant a lot to me. So, yeah, upset and sad.
Of course. But I was actually wondering about New Year's Eve. You two got into it at the dance. Was that the last time you spoke to him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I got home, he was on the porch, and I should have talked to him. But I didn't.
Do you regret that?
Yeah, of course. But your final moment with someone doesn't define your whole time with them.
It shouldn't, but it often does. In my last moment with Joel, he said he wronged you. Maybe bad.
What is it that he said that he did?
Well, that's the thing. It didn't really make sense. He said, I saved her.
He saved me a lot of times.
Yeah, I would think so, but that's not wronging someone.
It's weird. No idea what he meant. I don't feel wronged. Man, I wish I could have let him off the hook for whatever it was he was talking about. I guess I'll have to let myself off the hook for that.
They doubled down on faking that she didn't talk to him. Like, what was the point of that? Why would she lie about that? Why wouldn't she just say, we did talk afterwards and we had settled things? There's so many problems with how they executed this deception. The first being that they took it from Ellie's perspective, but removed the information that the audience would have needed to know, and then had that perspective tell us that it didn't happen. I think the only reason they did this was to go, surprise, and make the audience go like, whoa, oh my gosh, I can't believe this actually happened. But the main reason that this doesn't work is because it doesn't change anything. And it makes her conversation with Gale make even less sense. It just reveals it for what it actually was. An attempt on the part of the writers to conceal further from the audience that there was a conversation. Why it would have made it more reasonable for Ellie to get out of the therapy thing that was supposed to happen with her being dismissed from the hospital, whatever. When you're discharged from the hospital, she could have gotten out of that a lot easier if she's like, actually, Joel and I did have a nice long chat afterwards, and you know what, it's private between us. But like, no, she's like, no, everything was fine. Like, what was the point of that? The point of that was to trick the audience into thinking that, she's a sociopath.
She is.
Putting aside how this was executed, the main reason it doesn't work is because when you do get the reveal, it really serves no purpose to the grander story. What does this change? It doesn't change anything about how she behaved before or after this conversation. What purpose does this serve? I don't know, maybe this scene is going to tell us something, but I don't think it is. I don't think there's anything that they could say during this conversation that gives new context to Ellie. How does doing this serve the story in any way? What is the point of that? Like, I'm really confused. Why would you do this instead of create this moment where they've had conflict? It was really hard, but they got over it and they're family and they're going to press through. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. So yeah, they have their conversation. It starts off like casual talk, like they're finally having a conversation, and it's about the coffee. Like, we also get the coffee reference. Like the funeral scene, or not the funeral scene, the graveyard scene meant nothing to me with those coffee beans, because somebody in the comments said, oh wait, there was a coffee scene, like something. They mentioned coffee once or something, and then there was a suggestion. Whoever suggested this in my comments, this was brilliant. It should have been that we saw that wherever the two of them were when they were like scouring something, he'd be like, is there any coffee? Like, looking for coffee beans? Anything? Like, look for coffee? Like, he would always, wherever they were always looking for coffee beans.
Brilliant! Why didn't I think of that? Cut, print, check the gate, moving on.
But he says, oh, I'm embarrassed about what I've traded to get the coffee, but I want to know now what he traded. Like, this is retroactively creating a reason for us to have felt something, 5 episodes ago? And it's too late, man. It's too late. This really does not work. If you wanted us to feel something in the present back then, you needed to create what is necessary for us to feel something at that moment. Those coffee beans meant zilch, because we didn't have a scene like this before. If we had had this right before, it would have been nice. Anyway, okay, so she says, I had Seth under control, and he's like, I know. Which, yeah, that's fine. Like, he didn't behave in the best way there. And she goes, I know, and I don't want to ever hear about you taking me off patrol again. She got taken off patrol because she disobeys her captain. The patrol leader or whatever. That's why she was taken off patrol, because she can't be trusted as a patroller. If this script was handed to me, I would have said, you need to show that she's actually good. She's a good person. If you want this conversation to make sense, you need to show that she's actually a good person to have on patrol. That she does follow instructions. She is responsible. She doesn't put other people's lives at danger because she wants to have fun stabbing infected in the neck. Like, if you want this moment here to make sense, that is what is necessary. Instead, everybody just treats her like she's this super awesome badass on patrol. Like, she always does great stuff. Like, this is why we keep inviting her out on patrol. No, nobody believes that. Tommy even said, because you disobeyed your patrol leader. Like, she's not a reliable person. Even Jesse, when he came over and explained, he's like, please just do what you're told. People, for some reason, everybody respects you, which I don't believe for a second. Maybe children respect her because she seems like such a badass. She's all mouth, though. There's nothing to support. Oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. Then seeing as they haven't spoken to each other, presumably for 9 months, he's asking about Dina. Like, so is she your girlfriend now? And Ella's like, no, I don't even know why she kissed me, but it didn't mean anything. And he's like, well, you like her though, right? And she's like, it's stupid. Like, it doesn't, like, no, like, it becomes, he being a good sympathetic person is like, obviously Ellie likes Dina and doesn't know what the hell's going on between the two of them, but that Ellie does like her, but for some reason she doesn't think it's going to work. And he goes, well, Dina would be lucky to have you, like, because that's what you say. It's because it's a nice thing to say. And Ellie's reaction is, you're such an asshole. Oh my gosh. This is hard. This is very hard to watch because everything that Joel is being accused of, he doesn't deserve. And for some reason, he's not standing up for himself. Like, it's almost like, you know what, fine, just go die. Go die. I don't care anymore. But so Ellie's like, you lied. You lied to me, and it was the same face. But it just keeps getting worse and worse. So she goes, I'm going to give you one last chance to tell me the truth. Like, she's like, I think I've always known what the truth was. And she goes, were there other immune people? And he's like, no. Well, he's only not saying no. He's shaking his head. Were there raiders? No. And she goes, could they have made a cure? And he looks right at her with tears welling up in his eyes and nods yes. Even though that's totally not true at all. Like, say something, Joel, say something. And then she goes, did you? And then he has to, like, you know, did you kill everybody? Like, and Marlene? Mm-hmm. And they double down on it. It's just like, it gets worse. He goes, to get the cure, they would have had to kill you. And she goes, then I was supposed to die. My life would have f***ing mattered. Say something, Joel. Tell her the truth. Tell her no. There was no guarantee. And plus it was like any astute person would have been like, why do you have to kill her right away? Oh my gosh. All the reasons I've said before as to why Joel was in the right. This does not make any sense. This does not make any sense. Joel saved Ellie's life. She was against her will, stolen, tricked, and ready to be killed, slaughtered without any decision in the matter for something that maybe would have brought about a cure to empower the Fireflies, who were clearly evil and cowards. And then what? How would they distribute this? Like, how would they create a vaccine or whatever? And like, they didn't have that technology. They had one doctor who could make a cure from this. Really? And Marlene said it when she talked to Joel. The doctor thinks he might be able to make a cure. Thinks and might be able to. Like, these are not sure things. Oh my gosh, this is like, okay, let's assume it was for certain a sure thing. Even if that was a sure thing, Joel demanding that Ellie not be killed against her will is not a bad thing. If Ellie had willfully given her life over, and then he went and killed everybody, then that would have been a bad thing. Then Joel would be in the wrong. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to understand that. Are we supposed to be siding with Ellie here? Because it's not working. The only way it would have worked is literally if she had volunteered for this and then he went in and killed everybody to save her life. But then we wouldn't have this big mystery and like, She says, I was supposed to die. My life would have meant something, but you took that from me. You took that from everybody. When has Ellie in season 2 has been nothing but selfish, but like, why would we assume that she ever had a desire to give her life over for everybody? I'm just not buying that. Everything that we saw of Ellie in season 2 was proof that she does not have it in her to put anyone before herself. So if she was a selfless person up until now, I would be on Ellie's side here, except that she also would have had to have chosen to be put to death to save humanity. Oh my gosh, this makes no sense. This makes no sense, sorry. No, not buying it. Oh my gosh, it just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm sorry. He's like, I have accepted the price of that. I'm going to carry that guilt of possibly. Of course, it's not a sure thing. See, like, forgetting that. Assuming that it was a sure thing. I've accepted the guilt of damning everybody else to go on without a cure. Like, he's accepting that. And he's like, but you know what? Given the chance, I would do it all over again. And she goes, because you're selfish. Like, she's horrified at the thought that he would make the same choice again if presented with the same scenario. Like, anybody, first of all, would. Presented with, Human sacrifice, where we trick a child, steal her life away from her for maybe, oh my gosh, this is awful. The Fireflies were portrayed as evil cowards. Joel was portrayed as the protector of an innocent child. I think it's really stupid, all the people who like, wait a minute, didn't he kill all those people in the hospital? He didn't kill anybody who didn't threaten him. All the people he shot and killed were shooting at him, trying to kill him. And the doctor he shot in the head came at him with a scalpel. If Joel did not have a gun, that doctor would have probably killed Joel. He would stab him right through the throat, dead. Scalpels are extraordinarily sharp. He would have killed Joel. And then or he would have been too injured to get Ellie out of the hospital. He didn't kill the two nurses who had their hands up like, we're not coming after you. He didn't kill them. If he was evil, he would have shot the two of them, right? He killed Marlene because she absolutely would have continued to hunt them down to get Ellie. How do people not, how can you not see that takes away the idea that Joel did anything wrong? All these things take away the idea that Joel did anything wrong. Yeah, it's a horrible thing to kill all these people. But number one, they were trying to kill him. And number two, they were trying to kill a little girl. The only way it would have been acceptable is if 100% they could have made a cure, would have made a cure from taking out Ellie. And number two, they gave Ellie the choice and Ellie decided, yes, let them take my life. That's it. But the Fireflies were cowards and they were selfish. And I love here that you got Ellie calling Joel selfish, because you're selfish. She is the most selfish person in this entire series. My main complaint about Ellie in all of the episodes before this one when she was a child were this is a sociopath who literally cannot fathom other people's feelings and emotions because all she cares about is her own excitement and pleasure and being destructive. She loves that for some reason. She loves cutting open the necks and the heads of infected because that is where she gets her pleasure from. That is sociopathy. To derive pleasure, like a high, from causing destruction. And here, when he says, it's because I love you, she cannot even fathom that what he did was an act of love. All she says is, you were selfish. You took something from me. She's a sociopath. She's a sociopath. Oh my gosh. This is... I do like that he says, maybe you don't understand me now. Maybe you never will. Yeah, if she doesn't... Okay, somebody brought this up in one of my comments and it is so right. Ellie is immune because her mother was bitten while she was pregnant with Ellie. So Ellie has this in her now, this immunity. If she were to have children, there's a big chance she might actually pass on her immunity. If she had kids, it could be an entire line of people who are immune. And a huge sacrifice that she could make would be to have children. Why not get together with Jesse? They're good friends. But that would be the ultimate selfless act. So it's always, I've always found it a very interesting thing that we look at death as being sacrificing your life by dying is the ultimate sacrifice. But there is something that I think is even stronger of a sacrifice than that, even more powerful sacrifice than that. And that is sacrificing your life in that you no longer live for yourself. You are giving your life over for something greater. And this would be an example of that. Ellie, start having some babies, which unfortunately is, even though you are a lesbian, is going to require you to sleep with men. Pass on your immunity. That would be the ultimate self-sacrifice. And it actually wouldn't be that much of a huge self-sacrifice having kids. She said that she wanted to be a dad. She was excited at the prospect of being a parent. Well, she'd be a mom in both cases. But anyway, this is the sort of thing that a narcissist does, is they accuse other people of doing exactly what they themselves are doing. Here, she is accusing Joel of being selfish because she herself is selfish. You should have sacrificed. I'll bet she'd be singing a different tune if Joel says that if you ever have one of your own, maybe you don't understand me now, but if you ever have one of your own, I hope that you'll do a little better than I did. He hopes that she will sacrifice her kids? What? With all the other problems, like the cure not really being a thing and them taking her life against her will, all of that, if that just takes all of the meaning out of this. But just It's an interesting concept. Like, I do have to give credit to, this is a very interesting scenario and concept. Like, there's something biblical in the idea of sacrificing your child for the survival of all humanity. Like, what's the Bible quote? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Like, that's biblical. This is like Jesus' sort of symbolism here. But it's not executed well. It's not executed because of all of the flaws before this. Is quite frustrating. But this would be an excellent story. Like, that this is a God tier level sacrifice that you are asking. Like, it is against human nature. It is in human nature to love your child more than yourself. Like, you would gladly die to save your own child's life. But to sacrifice your child for somebody else, for the world, for strangers, that is a God tier level sacrifice, something that humans most likely would not be capable of, because it literally goes against human nature. This is a God level sacrifice. This is nice. I actually like this discussion here. However, it's not executed in a way that really strengthens the argument that, like, that would have been the greater good. Like, assuming everything was in place to explore this subject, Joel did not do anything that was wrong. He was protecting Ellie's life. But to sacrifice her, if she had chosen it, would have been the God tier level sacrifice. It's the greater good. Like, what he did was good. But to do this other thing would have been even better. However, it would have gone against human nature. And unfortunately, they didn't give good reasons for the sacrifice. There was no guarantee that it was ever going to work. So I'm going to sacrifice your life against your will. Like, you had no choice in the matter, so that people could roll a dice and maybe get a cure. Like, the chances of a cure coming out of this would have been like, and it's not a cure, it's a vaccine that provides immunity. So if you get bit, it's not that big a deal. It's still, you've got all these infected that you have to exterminate now. It's a greater good to choose that level of sacrifice, but it is not the wrong choice to choose to save the child. In this scenario, it's just not wrong. So it's really weird to get all these people telling in the comments, like, Joel did something, he did a whole lot of horrible things. Like, you gotta show this. I'm sorry. You can't just tell us that Joel did bad things in his past without showing it. I have not seen Joel ever kill somebody who wasn't trying to kill him or wasn't infected. Like, this whole Eugene thing, Eugene was going. We've already discussed that in this episode review. Joel has not been shown to have done anything wrong. Yes, killing people is not a great thing. It's not one of those things that you go like, wow, that was awesome. You kind of just go, oh, that was horrible. But did he do it wrong? Like, was it the wrong thing to do? No, they were going to kill him because he wanted to save the life of a girl that they were going to kill against her will without asking her, because they were cowards. At least accept the guilt and responsibility that you have to take on by asking a little girl, will you sacrifice your life to maybe save all of humanity? And for her to say, no, I don't want to die, and then take her life anyway. You should accept that responsibility. And they didn't. They chose the coward's path. So that's all it. Whatever. I can't believe it. Like, no wonder people were pissed off about this. If this is how it went down in the game, yeah. I would have long ago suggested so many changes to this story that you probably would have ended up with a different story. You can't tell the story the way that it is told right now and people not to have major problems with it, because this story has major problems that take away from, if this is the theme, that if I had sacrificed you, that would have been the greater good thing to do. Like, that, there's a way to tell that story and they just didn't do it. First of all, you don't say that saving a little girl who was going to be you don't say that that was the wrong choice. It was not the wrong choice. It just wasn't the best choice. The best, and even here, because of the scenario, sacrificing Ellie was still not the best choice. The conditions that would have made it the best choice were not present. She was not informed, so they were stealing her life away from her. There was definitely a high likelihood that this was not going to lead to a cure. Those are two very important factors that would have been necessary to make his choice wrong. And they weren't there, so, nah.
I don't think I can forgive you for this. But I would like to try.
I like that, even though I don't like anything else that happened in that conversation. All of this was needed beforehand. What was the point of putting this here? And then, oh my gosh, okay, so the episode ends with Ellie miraculously having escaped the hospital. So the WLFs must have abandoned it. That's the only way she got out, is if they did not seal her in, like they were shouting to each other, quick, seal it, like, which, why wasn't it sealed before? Oh my gosh, it's so stupid. The WLFs should never have stayed in that hospital. I don't believe that they would have. And if they did, why didn't they seal up everything? Like the vents should have been sealed. The elevator shafts should have been sealed. Like what the, oh, it's so stupid. I don't understand why they did that. Like, that's such an obvious trap for a writing trap where, you know, you get yourself cornered and you're like, oh shoot, what do we do? And somehow she's miraculously made it back to the theater. I don't believe she made it back to the theater. But anyway, she's back at the theater. Oh my gosh, this is so stupid. Ugh. This is such a sloppily written story. If the theme really is the greater choice would have been to sacrifice Ellie, it was not executed in the best way. Now, I know there's a lot of praise for this second game. I've heard it. And I think that is where the praise comes from. It's like, wow, what a challenging idea. Like that the greater good thing to do would have been to sacrifice your child, which is a God level sacrifice to make. Like literally the whole story of Jesus is that he was God's sacrifice. Like the thing that goes against human nature to sacrifice your child, because the normal parent would sacrifice themselves before the child. Like this is the greater thing, and that's why Jesus was, you get the idea. Like this is a biblical story here. So why the thing is that it's so sloppy to execute this that it's not effectively executed. And I like the ambition of it. The ambition is definitely great, but it shouldn't have made it to screen. And it definitely shouldn't have been regarded as like, wow, that was amazing. Like this story has good potential, but I don't think that it has a good story. I don't think it's well told. It's a great idea, poorly done. But anyway, I'm exhausted. I'm so freaking tired, and the sun is setting now, so I don't really have any time to do any. I've wasted my entire day reviewing 2 episodes that were very frustrating. This episode started so good. Like I was literally tearing up at scenes, and now it's just like gone. Like what a waste. What a waste. I don't even care anymore. Done with this. I'm gonna go take a shower and then try to sleep. So please like, subscribe, and comment, even if it's just with an emoji. It's a free way to support this channel. Or if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon, Ko-fi, or hit the money heart thanks button down below. You can become a subscriber. You can leave me a one-time tip. Anything is much appreciated and goes towards paying off my dog's eye surgery. That's it. What a freaking disappointing roller coaster. Be good to yourself.